It says live preparing. Okay, good afternoon everybody. I'm Shay Ali here with you on Inspired Online, and this afternoon we have got the absolute pleasure of welcoming the wonderful Nick James, who you'll see on screen with me today. Nick, if you've not heard of him, is one of the leading people in the UK to talk to you all about how to build your business. He works with coaches, trainers, therapists, he's authors and all sorts of things about how to really maximize yourself from 0 to 6 figures. So, and he's actually done this for himself as well. After university, he started his own business. That first business failed. He went into telesales, but was the top seller there, and went into creating another 6-figure business after that, and has learned sort of all the lessons from business about how to create that 6-figure business, what happens when that goes wrong, how to grow back from that. He also has an amazing platform called Expert Empires, which is one of the premier at the moment speaking platforms in the UK, where he gets lots of very high quality speakers to come here and share their wisdom with you. So we're very delighted to have him with all that plethora of skills, and I'll ask you our special question, Nick. Firstly, welcome, obviously. And
that was a wonderful introduction. I've now got high standards, I think, to achieve based on that lovely introduction. I also like that we obviously, got colour coordination on point today. So
I love it. That wasn't actually a plan, but
miracles happen.
They do indeed. Well, Nick, what can I say? Our first question, as always, is if you had to share your wisdom with the world in a nutshell, what would you say?
Well, I think it's a great question to kick off with. It does presuppose that I've got wisdom to share. So hopefully I won't disappoint. But I think probably there's 2 things actually that I say more than anything else, because I say it at the start of every video presentation that I give. I say it at the end of every video or presentation that I give as well. So 2 things really. I think the first thing is I always open every video with what a phenomenal time to be alive, because I really believe it is. And of course, there's a lot of negativity and bad stuff going on in the world. By the way, I'm not suggesting that everything's perfect. Of course it isn't. But I do believe that we live in a phenomenal time, and there's lots of opportunity out there for those who choose to see it. And my other kind of core philosophy that I finish every video or every presentation with is, the more you connect, the more you collect. Because I really believe that when you're building a business, how I've built my businesses over the years and had a relative amount of success is by building connections, by partnerships, joint ventures, collaborations, networking, building relationships. So I do believe that the more you connect, the more you collect, which is why I use that phrase so much.
Yeah, I love that. Well, let's go to that first, actually. How you connect is how you collect. What an amazing concept, and obviously very true. And you've done this, even before you started building your businesses in the world of telesales, and I'm sure even before that. What is that secret? What makes people want to connect with you?
Yeah, I think where this actually comes from originally, and I saw that you had the amazing Lauren Slocum on.
I did. She's wonderful.
What was that? Probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So Lauren and I've known Lauren since I was a teenager. So which is every bit as long ago as it looks now. So we're talking like 20 years. But I haven't spoken to or seen Lauren for so long. So it was great to see her here on your show, and I tuned in and watched what she had to say. And she's an amazing, amazing person. And actually, a lot of what I still, what's allowed me to build businesses successfully based upon connections and partnerships, I probably learned from people like Lauren when I was a teenager. So, I was, around the kind of Tony Robbins, personal development world, industry from when I was a kid, from 12 years of age all through my teenage years. And I think learning about connecting with other people and building rapport and communication skills from that age really stood me in great stead. And even now to this day, a lot of the relationships that I've built back then are still serving me in business now. You know, so when I
Wow.
look at mentors I had back then, people that I met back then in that world, have now since become partners, clients, stakeholders in our business in some way, shape, or form. So I really believe that when you nurture those relationships and come from a place of not the second you meet someone, what can I get? What can I get for me out of this? When you come from a place of like actually caring and wanting to serve other people, then those relationships that you build are so strong, the connections are so strong that they'll stand the test of time. And I can think of a number of people now that I've known 20 plus years that we do a lot of business with, that are, that have supported me in really difficult times over the years, and that are still, and vice versa, I've supported too. And I think that's a lot of time people say, well, how did you build, so many businesses over so many years that have been, relatively successful, and run events with Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone, and partnered with these people so well known, and that many people see that partnering with them is unattainable. And the way that I've done it is like, honestly, the secret, if there is one, and I don't believe there is just one secret, but it's building relationships and connections, because that's what's allowed me to partner with and connect with those people of influence that everyone else thinks are unreachable, because there isn't really anybody in this industry now that I couldn't get to directly or indirectly through maybe one or two connections, because I've invested so much time and energy in it over the years.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much wonderful stuff in there, actually. One is like really coming from that place of service, and rather than what can I give rather than what can I get. That's a wonderful idea. And then secondly, the time and energy that you've put into things already. I mean, you've really built, a lot of capital there to be able to, take you to places now, which perhaps, yeah.
It genuinely is my greatest asset. Like, when people go, oh, your database that you built up, or databases over the years, and customer base and staff and team, I got all of those things are immensely valuable. But well, in 2015, I started from scratch again. So I exited a business and literally started from ground zero, 7th of July 2015. And have managed to build a business from zero to multiple seven figures within, well, it was actually less than 3.5 years, because of those connections. That was the greatest asset. That was the capital, as you put it brilliantly, that was most valuable to me with starting. So, anyone that's watching this that's wondering, like, how do I even get started in business? I'm telling you, the connections you've already got are where the capital is right now. And if you think you haven't got those relationships, those connections, I'm telling you, you have. You just need to think about it and see it differently. And if you're, it's not, the only problem with everything I've said so far, Shay, is that none of it is a quick fix. None of it is the magic bullet that will, make you rich overnight, because that doesn't exist. But I think building connections, relationships, and ironically, coming from a place of not trying to get, but actually how can I serve, how can I give, that will get you more over a long period of time. And so, the phrase, the more you connect, the more you collect. What I'm really saying is, the more you connect with people, the more money or asset you'll be able to collect, or more benefit you'll get from it, because I really believe that the two sit together hand in hand.
That's wonderful. Now, there are some people that are going to have had those connections maybe from school. So you talked about meeting Lauren when you were 12, and being around Tony Robbins' world, when you were a teenager. And, similarly, I was blessed with that sort of influence at that age as well. But what I was wondering is, how do you transition from something that has really been so far maybe a social relationship for you to something that now maybe can help you in business? How is there an elegant way to make that transition with someone?
Yeah, a question I get asked a lot, like how do I pivot, maybe not necessarily from speaking to this person as a friend to now speaking to them and there's a business conversation to be had. It's more how often I get asked, how do you shift from like, I'm known as this and now I want to be known as that. So, you know, for example, I'm known as a professional, legal professional, or, you know, accountant, solicitor, whatever your background might be. You've got a career there, and actually I want to stop doing that and start doing something completely different. You know, let's say you want to start a business as a fitness expert, let's say.
Yeah.
But how on earth do you pivot from one thing to the other? You've got connections and you've got relationships over here and you're known for something over here. So how do you then utilize those relationships and connections for something that's completely different? And there's a very simple way that I suggest people do it. I mean, first of all, it does take a degree of bravery and boldness to put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm doing something completely different that I've not done before. And a lot of people fall at that first hurdle because they just can't get over themselves to get out there and say and state, like, here's what I'm about now. And so the communication that I always recommend, and how you do this will depend upon where your relationships exist. So maybe they exist in Facebook or in LinkedIn or over email, or probably all of the above in many cases. Yeah. So I think the power is in having one single message that you put everywhere. And that single message, and by the way, you're probably addressing people that maybe you haven't spoken to for so long. So it's almost like it's a bit weird to communicate after all this time. So the way that I suggest doing that is effectively just what I call the sorry I haven't been in touch contact piece, which is, hey, look, really sorry I haven't been in touch. You know, I've been really busy. You probably know me as X, from my career as a solicitor or an accountant or whatever maybe you've done in the past. And I've been really busy transitioning from that into what I do now, which is Y. So, just a brand new business, a fitness professional. It's something that I'm passionate about personally. I know it can make a massive difference in the world. And so, look, I'd love to know, what have you been up to? Tell me, what have you been up to? So this is the not making it all about you piece. Like, tell me, what have you been up to? Let's catch up. How can I help you? And, if you think that I can help you or anybody else that you might know on their fitness journey, I'd love to hear from you. Just reach out, reply to this email, drop me a message, whatever the logical next step is. So I think it's just having that communication to switch from one to the other. And a lot of people they don't think it's possible to switch from one to the other. So if they don't, or they ignore this kind of base of contacts, connections that they've built up over the years, and actually there's a good opportunity in there if you get that communication right.
And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, he used to be, or still probably are, very, very good at the art of copy as well.
Well, and I do think you've got to make that communication from using the skills that you possess. So, some people are great on video. So if you're great on video, use video to make that communication.
Yeah,
if you are rubbish on video, the last thing you should be doing is making that communication on video, because why would you do that? You might be better off doing it in the written word. So I've developed a skill to be fairly good on camera and on stage, but really my native skill set, where I'm best at, is always in the written word. So always has been. So, if there's anything critical that I want to communicate, I'll normally do it primarily in the written word, maybe with video to support, but I'll always go there. Whereas, if it's a message quick and easy, so I put a lot of video content out and stuff on social, and I'll normally do that because it's quicker and easier, and I can just literally grab my phone, point the camera and go. But I think the key really is to communicate in a way, or using the platform or using the medium that you are most skilled in or most comfortable with.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I wanted to go back actually to the point where you said you might have been a solicitor or an accountant or whatever it is that you were doing, because you must get a lot of people that want to transition out of, you know, a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 9 kind of lifestyle into, right, now I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to change the world. But I don't know how to do it when I'm paying my mortgage and I'm looking after my children and it all feels a bit too risky. So what would you say to someone who's in that space?
Yeah, I think the first one is, I am not a fan of the kind of just dive in the deep end and you'll just learn how to swim kind of thing. Because, you know, when you've got responsibilities, especially, you know, if you've got a family and you've got, you've got obligations, you've got mortgage to pay and mouths to feed and stuff like that. Which is why, by the way, I think the greatest gift I had was that when I started out in business, I really had nothing to lose. I didn't have responsibilities. I didn't have a family. I was literally like, well, you know, basically, if I fail, the worst that can happen is that I end up having to sleep on the sofa at my nan's or something. You know, it's like it's not death. Whereas, you know, when you're a bit older, you've got a family to support. I think you've got to be smart. So my thinking is always use the word transition. It's almost like, how can we transition from the current state of like full-time employment, working 9 to 5, or even, as you said, 9 to 9, earning a certain income? How can we transition to where maybe we want to be, which is making the same amount of income or maybe more, doing something different that you love doing and that fulfills you? How do you make the transition from one to the other? And it's never a stop this, start this. You know, it's never a black and white stop start kind of dynamic. It's often a gradual move from one to the other. So, you know, I think if you follow a lot of the so-called gurus, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk in particular might be one. You know, he talks about side hustle and starting a business on the side that you can gradually transition into, maybe. So I think that's something to consider. I think there's a few questions that somebody who is wanting to become a owner of a business or become an entrepreneur, a few things you need to ask first. Because I think a lot of people don't consider this and they go, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to own my own business, but I don't have any idea where I'm going to start or what I want to do. So the key thing really is, first of all, get really clear on the answers to a few questions. The first one would always, for me, be, what are you most passionate about? What do you love doing? What gets you excited? What will get you up early in the morning and make you stay up late at night because you want to do it? Because it's what makes your heart sing, because it's what you feel that you're on the planet to do. That's the first thing. Is like, it's got to be something that you love, that you're passionate about, that you're excited about. The second thing, and by the way, it's not this, then this, then this. It's like the second thing which has to sit alongside it is, well, where are you credible? Where are you? Where do you have authority, skills? Like, you know, if you're going into, as many people do, a service-based business where maybe you're a consultant, a mentor, a coach, you know, a trainer, you're basically going to help other people achieve a result. And of course, you know, if you've got a business idea around a product or an innovation of some description, that might be different. But like, if you're going to go into an expert business, as I call it, then what are you an expert in? What are you credible in? What are you an authority in? Because if you're not, it's going to be very difficult for you to start from scratch. You know, it's like the person going out and saying, right, I'm gonna educate people on how to build a property portfolio or a real estate portfolio if you're over in the States. But you've never done that yourself. Like, it doesn't make sense. So where are you already credible? Where are you an expert? Also, where do you have those connections? To come back to that conversation, where do you already have those connections that you can leverage and use that are going to make getting started a hell of a lot easier? So you've got to think about that piece as well. So what are you passionate about? Where are you credible, or where have you got great connections? That kind of fits hand in hand. And then finally is, like, on a practical level, where's the money? Like, go into a business or an industry where you go, I'm passionate about it, but I've got no credibility and there isn't any money in it, makes no sense. You know, in that case, you know, that might be a charitable venture. Or you would do philanthropically, maybe. But like, if you're going in, I want to start a business, it's got to be something you're passionate about. It's got to be something that you're credible and that you've got authority and connections in, and also something that there's money in, and that it makes sense that there's a desire for that product or service, and people will pay you for it at the level you need to be paid to make the thing make financial sense.
Wonderful.
So there's that balance that I talk about, this balance between what's more important, passion or profit, and it's like, well, both. You can't say one's more important than the other, because with all the passion in the world, if there's no money in it, you're not going to be able to build a sustainable business. And if you're doing it just for money and you're not passionate about it, it's not going to fulfill you long term. So you've got to find something that meets that has those two things fit together in that sweet spot in the middle.
Well, I think that's a really simple 3-step process to remember as well. Passion, credibility, profitability, and, you know, some really great food for thought there. I wanted to talk to you a bit about mindset, if I may. Your other top tip at the start of our conversation was, what a phenomenal time to be alive. Now, there's some people that are certainly not feeling that way right now, particularly you might have just lost your business or something like that. How do you keep, you know, that mindset of, this is a phenomenal time to be alive?
Yeah, I might say easy for me to say when I start business and all that kind of thing, but I really do believe that there are great opportunities available to everybody all the time, like, if we choose to see them. And let's be realistic, there's also a lot of not so good stuff going on in the world. So, you know, you can point at many different things. And there are people, especially right now, who their business or their livelihood has been affected by external factors that they had no control over whatsoever. So I get that. Also, there are a number of things, of course, that we do have control. I think you've got to look at it of what's in your control and what's out of your control, and focus only on the things that are in your control. So, you know, if you can look at, well, what's in your control? If you're in business, there are things that are out of your control. There are things that are in your control, and you focus on the things that are in your control, and you make the best you can out of them. And I do think that, you know, obviously this conversation is around building, growing a business. I think I could give you 100 reasons why right now is the worst time to be in business. I could also give you 100 reasons why now is the best time ever to be in business. And by the way, all of those would be true. So the question is, which one are you going to focus on? Like, are you going to focus on the opportunity? Are you going to focus on all the crap that's going on? Because whatever you choose to focus on will be your reality. And that the truth is, they all exist equally, probably. And it's just about, where are you going to put your attention, put your focus? Because I do think that it's never been easier for us to, you know, if you've got a business and you've got a good product, a good service that can really make a difference and help people, it's never been easier to market that product or service. Like, you know, 15, 20 years ago, we didn't have the access to the marketplace that we now have through social media. We just didn't. That said, you go, well, all right, but 5 years ago, it was probably much less competitive and much easier to get your message out to the audience you want to reach on social media than it was probably much easier 5 years ago than it is now. So, you know, the fact is, like I said, you could look at 100 reasons why it's the worst of times, and you can look at 100 reasons why it's the best of times. And yeah, the "what a phenomenal time to be alive" phrase, I suppose, it just, whether it's true or not, in reality is irrelevant. But the more I say it, the more I believe it. And the more I believe it, the better things seem to get. So I suppose it's more, to go back to kind of Tony Robbins' personal development, it's an incantation, isn't it, really? It's me saying again and again, what a phenomenal time to be alive. I'm going to see more positive, more good stuff that's going on in the world. I'm going to focus on that more than if I didn't say that, or if I said something that was disempowering. So, and I think, it's not for everyone. I definitely probably lose some people by having that attitude. And look, I'm okay with that. I go, look, you're never going to please all the people all the time. And I think a mistake that I definitely made in my earlier days in business, and I think a lot of people make this mistake, is trying to please everybody. And if you try and please everybody, then you end up I guess you end up like in that middle zone where it's kind of like a vanilla message. And consequently what happens is you don't attract people that will love you for who you are. You also don't repel people that will hate who you really are. You just kind of like sit in that middle place, and nothing good ever came by just being in the middle, being playing safe, if you like.
There's no money in the middle.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm really fascinated to ask you this, if I may, which is, what it's like to lose a business, and for some people that's a really difficult experience. I'm really interested in what you did to pick yourself up from that at the point where the business is not doing what you'd hoped it to do, and going from that to now building 7-figure businesses. What was the secret sauce?
Yeah, there's a couple of things, one of which actually I've already alluded to, in that I think when I first started, my biggest advantage was I had nothing to lose. In 2015, where I had to start from scratch again, from absolute zero, I did, I had responsibilities. I had a family to feed and bills to pay. And so it was like I didn't have time to sit there in self-pity. I didn't have time or to sit there and dwell on how things hadn't gone my way or anything like that. I basically had no other choice than to pick myself back up and work out, what do I do now? And coming back to the kind of, I suppose a lot of this is all interlinked, the kind of mindset, Tony Robbins, one of my favorite things I've ever heard from Tony, and I think about it a lot, especially when bad stuff happens, which it invariably does. Of course, is what if your worst day was actually your best day?
Yeah.
And actually, it's easy to say that when things are going well, to look back and go, oh, well, that bad day or that bad event actually put me on a completely new course that I never would have gone on. And so it probably was. I genuinely believe that the very upsetting experience I had in kind of early to mid 2015 was at the time the worst experience I'd ever had in business. But actually, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, without a doubt, because I would never have been able to build and create what I have since. So I do believe that, and it's easy to say that now, of course. The question is, like, when somebody's in the middle of it, it's very difficult to see how that worst day could be your best day. But I think if you look back historically and go, well, look at previous bad scenarios or tough times that I've been through, like, what's the learning been? And coming back to another Tony-ism, which is, not only is what if your worst day was your best day, but really in any event, no matter what happens, you're only really asking two questions. One is, what does this mean? And two, what am I going to do about it? And a lot of the times we're giving things meanings that aren't helpful, and we're not asking the question, what am I going to do about it? So we're just stuck in, what is this? Yeah, we're giving events or circumstances disempowering meanings. What does this mean? It means I'm a total failure. It means I'm complete rubbish. It means I'm stupid. It means this, and this. You go, well, those are not very helpful meanings. So what could it mean? Well, it could mean I've now been gifted an opportunity to rebuild from scratch and create everything exactly as I want it without any restrictions. It could mean, and there's loads of other things it could mean. It could mean, I suppose the old phrase, every setback is an opportunity for a comeback, right? So, when you're at your absolute lowest ebb, then you've got an opportunity to create a massive comeback story, which of course everyone loves. I mean,
people love that.
Like there would be, think about it this way. Let's use a health and fitness kind of metaphor here, if you like. I am naturally slim. So there is no great success in me losing weight. Like, that is not impressive. But for someone who's got themselves into a position where maybe they're not in good shape, they're down on themselves, they're going like, I'm in like the worst shape here and I'm feeling rubbish. And like, they now have a huge opportunity to create a massive success story. Other people might not have. If you see it that way, it's like your worst day when you're at your absolute rock bottom could actually be your best day, because it gives you the opportunity to create magic. And I think, not enough people see that opportunity. Like, every story that means something to people, and that we, every great movie we watch or every great leader that inspires us in different areas they've had those experiences of your worst day becoming your best day and breaking through to be a great example. And I think, when you're in those tough times and you feel like it's your worst day, every setback is an opportunity for a comeback.
I love it. Thank you, Nick. Nick, it's been incredible to spend this time with you. Thank you so much for the amazing content and wisdom that you've given us. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us today?
Well, thanks for having me. I think it's great what you're doing, and it's amazing to be interviewed alongside such esteemed guests as you have.
Including yourself, obviously.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I suppose the only thing I can finish with, which I finish every video or every presentation or every interview with, is a reminder, really, that I genuinely believe in not only in business but in life, that the more you connect, the more you collect. Whether that's money, whether it's wisdom, whether it's advice, whether it's great relationships. The more you connect with people, the more you invest time and energy in building relationships, the more you'll get back.
Wonderful. Nick, how can our lovely audience get in touch with you if they want to find out more or want to attend a lovely Expert Empires event or anything of the sort?
Yeah, sure. So, I suppose two main things. Number one, check out our website, expertempires.com. So that's got all the information about upcoming events, things like that, expertempires.com. And second thing, we're on all socials as you'd expect, but Facebook is probably our primary. So you can find our page, Nick James Expert Empires, just search that in the search bar, or our Facebook group, the Expert Empires Community. So yeah, just connect with us on Facebook. Empires event sometime soon.
Lovely. Well, I look forward to seeing you very soon, hopefully in person.
Thanks, Shay. Yeah, look forward to it. See you soon.
Me too.